When I found out that a number of these 131 deep underground military bases are being used to subvert the Constitution of these United States and its people.
Reproduced technology or alien reproduced vehicles or any other kinds of things well hidden from the American public. Our black budget, for instance, garners $1.023 trillion every 2 years.
For 2 years, Philip Schneider stood in front of crowds across the United States and told them the government was going to kill him. He said he had survived multiple attempts, a bomb under his car, a staged collision, a shooting. He gave approximately 30 lectures in 24 months. He named names. He described classified programs. He showed physical evidence. On January 17, 1996, his friend broke into his apartment after days of no answer. Philip Schneider had been dead for 5 to 7 days. The coroner initially said stroke. Then they found surgical tubing knotted around his neck. The ruling was changed to suicide. His research materials, his specimens, and his classified documents were gone before investigators secured the scene. This is his story. Philip Schneider was born on April 23, 1947 at Bethesda Naval Hospital. His father, Oscar Schneider, was a captain in the United States Navy, a nuclear medicine specialist who helped design the first nuclear submarines and participated in Operation Crossroads, the nuclear weapons testing program at Bikini Atoll in 1946. Philip grew up claiming his father had connections to some of the most classified programs in American military history. Whether that's verifiable or not, what is verifiable is this. Philip Schneider worked as a geological and structural engineer on underground construction projects for Morrison Knudsen, Inc., one of the largest construction contractors in the United States, with documented government contracts. He claimed Level 3 security clearance, a Rhyolite 38 classification, which he described as among the highest in the world. His documented physical condition is worth understanding before anything else. By the time he began lecturing publicly in 1994, Schneider had multiple sclerosis, brittle bone syndrome, cancer in his arms, a metal plate in his skull, hundreds of shrapnel wounds across his body, and was missing fingers on his left hand. A scar ran from his throat to below his sternum. A second scar ran laterally across his rib cage. He had a documented medical history that required catheters, leg braces, a body brace, and periodic wheelchair use. That last detail becomes significant later. Starting in 1994, Philip Schneider began giving public lectures about what he said he had witnessed during his government contracting work. His central claim: the United States government has been constructing a network of deep underground military bases, DUMBs, since at least the 1950s. He said he personally worked on over 13 of them across the United States and in Europe. He described them as connected by high-speed magnetic levitation tunnels, operating at speeds that make conventional transportation irrelevant. He placed the black budget funding these projects at approximately $25 billion per year. Money, he said, was being moved completely outside of congressional oversight. Deep underground military bases are not a fringe theory. The government has publicly acknowledged facilities at Cheyenne Mountain, Raven Rock Mountain, and Site R. The existence of classified underground infrastructure is documented. The scale Schneider described is what remains unverified. His most explosive claim involved an incident in 1979 at Dulce, New Mexico, a site north of the Jicarilla Apache Reservation near Archuleta Mesa. He said he was part of a drilling team contracted to extend tunnels for an underground base. During drilling, they broke through into what he described as a large artificial cavern. not a geological formation, but a constructed space already occupied by extraterrestrial entities. He said a firefight broke out. He said 67 workers and military personnel were killed. He said he personally fired on 2 gray aliens with a pistol before being struck by an energy weapon that caused the chest scarring and hand injuries he displayed at every lecture. He said he was one of 3 survivors. He showed the hand at every appearance. The scarring was real. The cause of it remains a matter of dispute.
The first hole was sunk and all this soot came up, and well, that's when all the hell broke loose, really. About from me to this elderly woman here in the front was sitting a 7-foot-tall alien gray. The stench was worse than the worst garbage can you can imagine.
If the idea that a man with documented injuries gave 30 lectures about classified programs and then died under disputed circumstances keeps you in your seat, subscribe. Dead Man Secrets goes this deep every week. Schneider told audiences repeatedly that the government had tried to kill him multiple times before he finished talking. He described a bomb discovered under his car, a vehicle collision he believed was staged, a shooting he survived. In his final lectures, recorded on video in 1995, he told audiences directly, "I give myself a lifespan of about another 6 months. I am not going to be able to keep this up much longer." He was right about the timeline. What he couldn't have staged, or at least what nobody has been able to fully explain, was the physical evidence he carried. The hand, the chest scars, the shrapnel wounds. His ex-wife Cynthia Dreyer, who met him in 1986, has described in detail his injuries predating his public lectures by years. He wasn't manufacturing injuries for the stage. In his final lecture circuit, he was also carrying what he described as physical specimens. Pieces of metal he claimed came from extraterrestrial sources. He kept them in his apartment alongside research materials and video documentation. When his body was found, those materials were gone. January 17, 1996, Wilsonville, Oregon. Philip Schneider's car had been sitting in the parking lot of the Autumn Park Apartments for days. His friend Al Pratt had knocked on the door repeatedly, with no answer. When they finally entered with the building manager and a sheriff's deputy, they found Schneider dead. Estimated time of death, 5 to 7 days earlier, meaning he died around January 10th or 11th. The Clackamas County coroner initially ruled the cause of death a stroke. Days later, after further examination, that ruling was revised. Surgical tubing, the kind used in medical catheters, had been wrapped and knotted around his neck. The ruling was changed to suicide by strangulation. Cynthia Dreyer immediately disputed it. In a formal letter to the Clackamas County Medical Examiner and Sheriff's Office, dated February 23, 1996, she outlined her objections in detail. Her argument was specific. Philip Schneider suffered from severe multiple sclerosis, brittle bone syndrome, and had significant motor impairment in his hands, including missing fingers. The physical act of wrapping and knotting surgical tubing around one's own neck with sufficient force to cause death requires a degree of manual dexterity and physical strength that his documented medical condition made effectively impossible. Furthermore, Schneider used catheters as part of his ongoing medical treatment. The tubing was consistent with his medical supplies. Cynthia argued this made it readily available to someone in his apartment who knew his medical situation. The investigation did not result in any charges. No murder inquiry was formally opened. His research materials, specimens, and video documentation were never recovered. Philip Schneider's claims sit in a complicated space. Some of what he described, the black budget, the underground bases, the classified programs, the treaty framework, has partial support in declassified documents and government acknowledgments made in the years since his death. The UAP disclosure hearings of 2023 and 2024 referenced programs that sound structurally similar to what Schneider described 30 years earlier. Some of what he described, the alien firefight, the 67 dead, the extraterrestrial energy weapon, has no external verification. What is not in dispute, he had real injuries. He gave documented lectures. His death involved physical circumstances his own medical history makes difficult to explain as self-inflicted. His materials disappeared, and the official investigation was closed without charges. Whether Philip Schneider was a whistleblower, a fantasist, or something more complicated than either, his death follows the same pattern as the cases before him. He knew things. He talked. He's gone. The evidence went with him. 30 lectures in 2 years. A hand he couldn't have faked. A death that doesn't fit the ruling. And a room cleared of evidence before the investigation began. The coroner called it suicide. His ex-wife called it murder. The files have never surfaced. Drop a comment. Do you think Schneider was telling the truth, or was he something more complicated? And if you want the full underground base breakdown, Dulce, Cheyenne Mountain, and the Black Budget programs that are now partially confirmed. That series continues right here. Subscribe. New episode every week. I'll see you there.